It was a rainy morning at St. Helena's private hospital, the kind of morning when the whole city felt wrapped in mist. Inside the marble-floored lobby, nurses rushed with clipboards while wealthy patients waited under soft chandelier lights. Among them stood Maria, a humble maid in her faded gray uniform, clutching a small brown handbag. Beside her was her daughter, Alina, a quiet 17-year-old girl with bright eyes and a curious mind. They were there for one reason: to see Dr. Leonard Hale, the hospital's most famous physician. "Mom, don't worry," Alina whispered, looking at her mother's trembling hands. "It's just a checkup. You'll be fine." Maria nodded weakly, trying to smile, but her breath was shallow, her steps slow. Something had been wrong for weeks. Dizziness, chest pain, exhaustion. Every time she came home from cleaning the billionaire's mansion where she worked, she barely made it to bed. When Dr. Hale finally appeared, tall, handsome, and impeccably dressed, his expression was already impatient. "Yes, you're the cleaning lady from the Beaumont estate, right?" he said coldly, flipping through the file. "Let's make this quick. I have a conference in 20 minutes. Maria nodded. Alina stood protectively beside her. The doctor barely looked up from the papers. "So, fatigue, chest pain, lightheadedness. Probably anxiety. You people work too hard without proper diet. I'll write vitamins. That should help." Alina frowned. "Sir, with respect, my mom's symptoms don't sound like just fatigue. Her pulse is irregular and she—" "Excuse me? Are you a medical student now?" Alina froze. "No, sir, but I said I don't need a maid's daughter teaching me medicine," he said sharply. "You can leave now." The words cut like glass. Nurses nearby looked away. Maria tried to apologize for her daughter's boldness, but Alina wasn't wrong. She had been reading her late father's old medical books for years, fascinated by the human body. She noticed things others missed. As they walked out into the rain, Alina whispered, "Mom, he's wrong. I think it's your heart." Maria sighed weakly. "Let's not make trouble, Alina." But that night, as her mother's breathing grew shallow, Alina couldn't sleep. She stayed up rereading her father's worn-out copy of Cardiac Anomalies in Women. And there, between two highlighted pages, she found something that made her heart stop. The symptoms, the irregular pulse, the faint discoloration on her mother's lips. It wasn't exhaustion. It was something far worse, something that could kill her if untreated. Alina knew she had to act fast, but who would believe her? She was just the maid's daughter, and the man who could save her mother had already told her to keep quiet. The next morning, the rain had cleared, but Alina's heart felt heavier than ever. Maria lay on the small bed in their modest apartment, her breaths shallow, her face pale. Alina gently placed her hand on her mother's wrist and counted the pulse. Too weak, too slow. "I'm calling the hospital again," she said, determination burning behind her tired eyes. "No, Alina," Maria whispered, gripping her hand weakly. "We can't afford more tests. The doctor said I'll be fine." Alina shook her head. "He didn't listen, Mom." She pulled open her worn school bag, pulling out pages filled with messy notes, diagrams, symptoms, cross-references. Her late father had once been a paramedic before he passed away. He used to say, "Observation saves lives." She whispered to herself, "If Dr. Hale won't listen, I'll make him." That afternoon, Alina went back to St. Helena's Hospital, pretending to be delivering cleaning supplies. The nurses recognized her from the previous visit, so no one stopped her. She quietly slipped into the diagnostic lab when no one was watching. Inside, she found patient charts and data folders lined up by code. She looked around. Her mother's file was labeled Case Number R482. She opened it, scanning the vitals. Heart rate fluctuations,
low oxygen levels. Abnormal ECG, but it had been marked as normal variance. Her eyes widened. He hadn't even run a cardiac enzyme test. Her hand trembled as she picked up a nearby medical journal from the desk. Elevated enzyme levels can confirm myocardial dysfunction, she read softly. He never checked it. Behind her, a voice suddenly echoed, cold and sharp. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" Alina froze. Dr. Hale stood at the door, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. His tone was controlled, but fury burned beneath his surface. I was just looking—" "You looking through confidential hospital data? You've got some nerve," he interrupted. "You could be arrested for this." Alina's voice trembled but didn't break. "You made a mistake, doctor. You didn't run the cardiac test on my mother. Her ECG shows clear signs of myocardial ischemia." He scoffed. "You learned those words from YouTube." Alina's eyes flashed. "No, I learned them from my father's medical books. He was a paramedic. Before he died saving patients you'd probably ignore too." The words hit harder than she expected. The doctor's jaw tightened. "Listen, Miss, whatever your name is," he said coldly. "I've been practicing medicine for 15 years. I don't need to take advice from a maid's daughter." Alina stepped closer, eyes full of quiet fury. "And yet your experience could cost my mother her life." For a moment, silence filled the lab. Even Dr. Hale seemed taken aback by her conviction. Finally, he turned away. "Get out, now!" Alina clenched her fists, holding back tears. "You'll see," she said softly. "If you won't save her, I will." That night, Alina worked tirelessly. She went online to learn about emergency cardiac diagnostics, cross-referencing her mother's symptoms. Using a borrowed stethoscope from her neighbor, she recorded her mother's heartbeat. There, a faint, irregular murmur. She compared it to samples online and whispered, "Mitral regurgitation, early-stage heart failure." By midnight, Maria's breathing worsened. "Mom!" Alina cried, shaking her lightly. Her lips were blue. Without thinking twice, she grabbed her phone and called emergency services. When the ambulance arrived, she climbed in beside her mother, holding her hand tightly as they sped through the night. At the hospital, chaos erupted. Nurses rushed Maria into the ER. Alina followed until a guard stopped her. "You can't go in." "I'm her daughter," she pleaded. Through the small window, she saw him, Dr. Hale, standing with a team of specialists, suddenly pale as he examined the latest scans. She could see it in his face, realization. He had been wrong. Minutes later, Dr. Hale stepped out, his confident posture replaced by guilt. "She's stable, for now," he said quietly. "Your mother has an advanced cardiac condition. You were right, we missed the enzyme spike." Alina's eyes filled with tears of both relief and anger. "You ignored her," she said. "If I hadn't come back—" Dr. Hale didn't argue this time. He looked down. "You saved her." But Alina wasn't smiling. Her hands trembled. "I'm not done yet. I want to help in her treatment. I want to learn everything about what's happening to her." Dr. Hale hesitated. "You're not trained for—" "Then teach me, if you really care about fixing your mistake." There was something in her tone, not arrogance, but determination that made him pause. Finally, he nodded slowly. "Fine. Be here tomorrow morning. I'll show you how to monitor her vitals. But this stays between us." Alina exhaled in disbelief. For the first time, the man who once dismissed her was now listening. As Alina watched her mother sleep peacefully under the soft hospital lights, she whispered to herself, "Dad, I did it. I made them see her." But what Alina didn't know was that Dr. Hale's guilt would soon turn into something more, a test that would challenge both of them, because saving her mother's life was only the beginning.
Alina arrived at the hospital before sunrise. The world was still quiet, wrapped in the soft blue of early morning. Her school uniform was replaced with a plain white shirt and tied hair. The clothes may have been simple, but her eyes carried purpose. She walked through the hallway, past nurses, past patients being wheeled to morning tests, and though no one said it out loud, many had heard the whispers. "She's the maid's daughter. She died knows something the doctor didn't. The girl who saved her mother." Some eyes carried respect. Some carried insult. Most carried curiosity. Alina didn't care. All she cared about was the door at the end of the corridor, ICU room 9. Her mother was still there, sleeping peacefully. Then she felt a presence beside her. Dr. Hale. No arrogance today, no cold tone. He simply said, "Follow me." They entered a small side lab. Machines hummed softly. Morning sunlight reflected against metal surfaces. Dr. Hale placed a monitor in front of her. "This is your mother's current heart rhythm," he said. "Before we begin, there is something you should know." He paused. "Last night, if you had been even 2 hours late, we may have lost her." Alina swallowed hard. Her hands clenched. "Then let's not waste time," she whispered. Dr. Hale watched her. This wasn't normal courage. This was love turned into strength. He began to teach. He showed her how to read ECG patterns, check for arrhythmias, identify oxygen saturation changes, watch for signs of shock. His voice was slow, careful, not lecturing, but explaining. And Alina? She absorbed everything like dry soil receiving rain. Her father once told her, "Learning medicine is just learning how to notice." She noticed everything. Every beep, every fluctuation, every tiny change that most people would ignore. Dr. Hale found himself impressed. Hours passed. When they returned to Maria's bedside, Alina checked the monitor without being asked. "Her heart rate is slightly elevated. Maybe she's anxious in her sleep." Dr. Hale blinked. She was right. This wasn't luck.
This was talent. Later that day, nurses rushed past them, wheeling a young boy, barely 10 years old, coughing violently. His skin looked pale, lips tinted blue. "Severe asthma attack," a nurse said. Dr. Hale moved toward the stretcher, but Alina had already stepped closer, eyes fixed on the boy's fingernails. They were not just pale, they were tinted purple. She whispered, "This isn't just asthma." Dr. Hale froze. "What did you say?" "His nails, his lips, the swelling around his eyes." She swallowed. "I saw this pattern once in Dad's books. It's respiratory failure leading to near hypoxic shock. If they give him standard asthma meds, it might worsen it." The nurses hesitated. Doctors had already prepped the inhaler. Dr. Hale spoke sharply. "Stop." Everyone turned. He looked at Alina. "Tell them what to do." This was her first real test. Her voice trembled, but her mind was steady. "He needs oxygen support first, then saline nebulization, not bronchodilator yet, or his lungs will panic and collapse further." For a moment, silence. The hospital staff waited. Then Dr. Hale nodded. "She's right. Do it." They did. Minutes later, the boy's breathing stabilized. His mother cried, dropping to her knees, thanking the doctors. But her eyes searched for one person, the girl who had spoken first. she whispered. "Thank you." Alina felt her chest tighten. Helping others felt right. After the emergency settled, Dr. Hale and Alina walked down the hallway. Finally, Dr. Hale spoke. "Who taught you to see like that?" She replied softly, "My father. He said, 'Illness doesn't scream, it whispers. If you learn to listen, you save lives.'" Dr. Hale exhaled, long and heavy. "There was a time I used to listen too, before the pressure, before the board, before everything became numbers on paper instead of people." He looked at her. "You reminded me." Alina didn't smile. She wasn't here for praise. She was here for her mother. But something had changed, not just in the doctor, but in the hospital. Doctors began greeting her. Nurses asked her questions. Patients watched her walk, whispering, "Is that the girl who helped save the child?" Rumors spread fast, some respectful, some jealous, some judgmental, especially her classmates who soon found out, including the one who hated her the most, Mira, the hospital director's niece, the girl who always made sure Alina remembered her place. The next day at school, Mira approached her locker, fake smile painted like cheap glitter. "So," Mira smirked, "I heard you're playing doctor now. How cute." Alina ignored her. But Mira wasn't done. "You really think you belong there, in a hospital, next to doctors? You're just a maid's daughter who got lucky once." Alina closed her locker slowly, eyes calm, not angry. She simply said, "Saving a life isn't luck," and walked away. The hallway fell silent. Back at the hospital, Dr. Hale handed Alina a folder. "This is your next task. Your mother is stable, but her treatment will require surgery." Alina froze. "Surgery?" Her throat tightened. "How?" Dr. Hale cut her off gently. "Don't worry about the cost." She stared at him. "Why?" He looked away, ashamed and human for the first time. "Because I owe you and her more than I can explain." But the relief didn't last long, because that night, Maria began coughing again. Hard, painfully. The monitor beeped irregularly, alarms ringing. Nurses rushed in, and at that moment, Alina saw something the doctors didn't. Not her heart, not her lungs, her skin tone. A faint gray. A shade her father once told her meant only one thing. The body is giving up. But Alina did not accept that. She stepped back, eyes blazing. "No," she whispered. "No, not now, not again." She turned to Dr. Hale, voice steady, fearless, unshakable. "Prepare for surgery." Dr. Hale's eyes widened. "Tonight?" "Yes." Alina's voice didn't shake. "If we wait, we lose her." And Dr. Hale, the man who once ignored her, now trusted her judgment without question. He nodded. "Prepare the operating room." The air outside the operating room was freezing, yet Alina's palms were burning hot. Her mother was being prepared for surgery. The hallway lights flickered softly, casting long shadows, stretching time itself. Alina paced the corridor, whispering under her breath, "Please, please hold on. I'm right here. I'm not losing you too." 3 years ago, she lost her father on a night just like this. The sterile white walls, the rushing doctors, the sirens, the helplessness. She could still hear his last words. "Alina, don't look away from pain. Look at it, understand it, and help." And now, she stood in front of that pain again. But this time,
She was no longer powerless. Inside the operating room, Dr. Hale scrubbed in silently. He glanced at the surgical team. They were nervous, not because of the surgery, but because everyone in the hospital now knew the maid's daughter wasn't a rumor anymore. She was the reason they were here tonight. Alina was about to sit when she heard hurried footsteps. Someone rushed down the hall, white coat flapping, dust-covered bag in his arms. Her breath stopped. It was him, her uncle, her father's brother, a man who had left for research abroad years ago. He stopped in front of her, chest rising and falling, eyes soft with sorrow. "I came as soon as I heard," he whispered. Alina's lips trembled. You knew?" He nodded. "And I knew your father's condition, the one that runs in the family." Alina froze. Family condition. Inherited. Her mother wasn't just sick by accident. Her body was fighting something genetic, something that required a very specific understanding to treat, something only someone who truly looked closely could see. Alina understood. Her father hadn't raised her like someone who might need medical knowledge someday. He had raised her like someone who would absolutely need it. The surgery began. Alina and her uncle watched through the observation glass. The room was quiet and focused. Dr. Hale was not the same cold, dismissive man from before. Every move was deliberate, every breath steady, every instruction clear. Because tonight, he wasn't just a surgeon. He was a man making something right. Alina watched monitors carefully, unconsciously reading every change. Heart rhythm, blood oxygen, pressure stability. She whispered adjustments before the nurse did, and Dr. Hale followed without looking up. It was like the two of them were performing this surgery together, one inside the room, one outside. Minutes stretched like hours. Then, the heart monitor beeped irregularly, a sudden drop. Nurses tensed. A surgeon muttered, "Pressure falling." Alina pressed closer to the glass, eyes wide. "No, her breathing isn't the problem," she said sharply. Her uncle turned. "What do you see?" "Her skin tone. Look under her jaw. The pallor. Her oxygen is fine. This is blood volume dropping." Dr. Hale saw it a second later. "Blood loss. Locate the vessel. Clamp. Now." The team surged into motion. Alina held her breath. Then, the monitor steadied. The beeping returned to rhythm. Her mother was stable again. Dr. Hale whispered, barely audible even to himself, "Thank you, Alina." The surgery lasted 3 hours. At 3:27 a.m., Dr. Hale stepped out of the operating room, mask lowered, eyes tired. Alina stood up so quickly her chair fell backward. He didn't speak at first. He simply smiled. "She's alive." Alina covered her mouth, tears falling instantly, relief crashing through her like a wave. Dr. Hale stepped closer. "You didn't just save her before." His voice was quiet, sincere. "You saved her tonight, too." Alina shook her head. "No, we saved her." Her uncle placed a hand on her shoulder. But Dr. Hale continued, expression now heavy with meaning. "Alina, I need to tell you something about your father." She froze. "My father?" Dr. Hale nodded. "He was my mentor, my teacher, the reason I became a doctor." He exhaled, fighting emotion that had slept for years. "When your father passed, I buried myself in procedures, rankings, reputation. I forgot why I started all this. You brought me back. Alina's eyes widened. Her father had been Dr. Hale's mentor. Her father wasn't just a doctor. He was the doctor who inspired one of the best. Dr. Hale continued, "When your father passed, I buried myself in procedures, rankings, reputation. I forgot why I started all this. You brought me back." Alina wiped her tears, not of sadness, but of understanding. Days passed. Maria recovered beautifully. She opened her eyes slowly, and the first thing she saw was her daughter's face. "Alina," she whispered. Alina broke into tears, laughing and crying at the same time. "I'm here, Mama. I'm right here." She touched her cheek. Her voice was weak but warm. "You look so much like your father when you are brave." News spread. The hospital board called an emergency meeting, but this time not to scold, but to acknowledge. Dr. Hale requested something unexpected. He pointed at Alina as he spoke to the board. "This girl is not a bystander. She is not here by accident. She has diagnostic ability and instinct beyond most students I have trained. I request she be accepted into our medical mentorship program." The board murmured. They knew talent when they saw it, even if it came from a maid's daughter, especially then. Alina looked at her mother. Her mother nodded, proud, teary, full of love. And Alina said, "I accept." That night, as Alina and Dr. Hale walked down the quiet corridor, he asked, "Do you know what kind of doctor you want to become?" Alina looked at her reflection in the glass, tired, hopeful, steady. She answered softly, "Yes, the kind that listens."